Welcome to this episode of the Brush and Soap and Blade Podcast, where we look forward to shaving every day. Welcome to episode 150 of the podcast. My name is Rick DeWeese. I'll be your host this week. Okay, we're going to start off with a shave of the day. Shave of the day was a Nathan Clark, a Suribachi 1912 Citrus Musk, a Gem Damascene special with a gem carbon steel blade to top it off. So we'll talk about that. Shave of the day 2, following right after, 1912 Russian Leather, as well as V-John Spice Scent Aftershave. And it was a little special because it was the one pass shave. Talk about that. 3, why the podcast was late, or there was no podcast last week, or why the heck am I so tired? Jeez, been a lot going on. I'll tell you all about that. Shave of the day number 3, the Semogue Owners Club brush, Taylor of Old Bond Street Cederwood, and I just happened to grab my Merkur Bakelite Slant. Unfortunately, it had an old blade in it, but it did the job. Well, sorta. Well, yeah, I'll tell you all about that one. I got a new trimmer, and I put it to good use. Of course, it did wear me out a little bit. It's a bit heavier than most of the trimmers that I have. I'll tell you all about that one too. How about a shave of the day with a chic adjustable, some Wickham Soap 1912 Citrus Musk, lathered up with the 1305 boar brush. Yeah, we'll talk about that too. And good stuff. Finally, finish out the week with shave of the day number 5, 1912 Club Cola. Boy, that was a surprise. Holy cow. Wasn't expecting that. And my chic adjustable, lathered up with a 830 Semogue brush. But, yeah, I'll tell you about that because I was not expecting what it delivered. Okay, throw in the case for sunglasses, especially this time of year, because, well, sometimes you just need them. And then finally, we talked about custom shirts last week. We talked about a couple of places where you get custom shirts, the original stitch, and things like that. Well, I happened to be looking around and found a couple of really, really good articles on, well, how to make a shirt look good. And first one is the shirt collar. And then finally, the second one is how to roll up your shirt sleeves. A couple of different methods, styles, and how to do it and why to choose each way. Really, really good stuff from Real Men, Real Style. So, okay. Then finally, just to finish it off, because I saw this and I thought, yeah, this is pretty cool. And there's a link in the show notes, but how about the first Popeye the Sailor cartoon in black and white ever? So with that said, let's start off this show with a couple of with an email, a comment, and then a request to join a No Shave November team for cancer research and support cancer funding, and yeah, then we'll get on with the show. But let's do this first. All righty, let's start out with an email. First one's from Stephen. Rick, every time I hear your love of preparedness, I think of Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory. Well, thank you. You're always mentioning your boar brushes. What other brushes, synthetic, horse badger, do you own, and why or why not? Okay, so yes, I really have an affinity for my boar brushes. They just seem to work really, really well. I just really like them and appreciate what they bring to the table. They're inexpensive. They're a good buy, I believe. At least the ones that I've got have been exceptional values and bargains. I do own a couple of badger brushes. I used to have more. I gave one away. Not because it wasn't any good, but in fact because it was good. And I gave it to my oldest son, as a matter of fact. And the other brushes that I have 2 synthetics. I have a fine synthetic. It's got a fairly small knot. And then I've got one of the original Plisson synthetics back when they were really expensive. And I love the knot on that thing, but the handle's a great shape, but the finish on the handle just absolutely sucks. peeling and chipping off, and just I'm probably going to have to take some sandpaper to it and a knife and whatever and just get the rest of that finish off and be done with it. And but I do enjoy it. I do really, really like the convenience of not having to soak it and being able to put it up wet and things like that. So as far as, why I like them. Okay, so I really like the synthetics because, I only have the two. Well, actually, I've got a couple more than that because I've got an old kabuki brush that I bought the first one when I was first trying synthetics, just see what it was like, and it's okay, but it's got a very small knot as well. I've got a little bit larger one that I used to use camping, and it works really well. It's not too bad, although it doesn't have much height. It doesn't have much loft at all in it. And it's pretty good diameter, but not a lot of loft, and so it didn't hold a lot of soap. It was okay for camping and things like that, but there's better options out there. So I do like the synthetics. I've never tried a horse. I have never tried a horse brush at all. Badgers I find to be very, very soft. I do enjoy them, but to me, I never really wanted to buy a really, really good one and spend the money on it, quite honestly, because I got, in my opinion, a good or suitable, I should say, lather and performance with a $25 boar brush. And, if I was going to spend money on a brush, do I want to spend $25 on a boar brush or $100 on a really nice badger brush? And I always chose the boar brush because that gave me more money for soaps and razors and, well, other stuff. So, that's the answer to that one. So Stephen goes on to say, I'll listen to your next podcast for the answer. He also says, +1 on the backup fuel and even a small generator for powering in case of emergencies. Yeah, I actually have two generators. I have a really small two-stroke generator that only puts out about 800 watts. But if I need it, it can power my freezer, or it'll power a refrigerator, or do something like that, and it's relatively quiet. It's not too awful bad. And then I've got a much nicer 2,000 watt Yamaha that we use for radio operations, and when we need power for scouting and things like that. I have that as well. So, a generator doesn't do any good if you don't have any fuel for it. And the nice thing, most people don't think about this, but with a good inverter, you probably have a generator or two, sitting in your driveway. Most people don't think about that, but an inverter isn't that much, and you can get a decent, 800 to 1,400 watt inverter. Now, of course, those will have to go directly on your battery instead of like a cigarette lighter or anything like that. But you can pull the power off of an idling car, enough to power refrigerators and potentially freezers and all that. You want to stay away from hair dryers, microwaves, and really high power items that will suck the inverter right out of the right through the electrical cable. But for the average stuff, your car is probably a very good alternative in a pinch. Of course, you're also going to need fuel for that. So, having some extra fuel around in a generator or two or three or, however many you have, it just really, really adds to the feeling of security. Now, if you add that to having some spare fuel for like fires, or fires in the fireplace, or kerosene or something like that for a heater, as well as some extra food, while everybody else is absolutely scrambling around and fighting with each other at Walmarts and grocery stores and things like that. You're sitting at home thinking, okay, power's out. Oh, well, let's read a book. Anyhow, Stephen goes on to say, if you can keep a fridge or a freezer cold for 2 to 3 days, you can ride out a lot of storms, as I discovered when I was caught short. My brother, Gray, got lucky. He has a friend like you who had a spare to share 3 years ago when severe storms knocked out much of South Queensland's or Southeast Queensland's power. So cheers, Steve, over there at the Daily Shaver. So if you've never checked out Steve, he's a YouTuber, a wet tuber, as they say, and he does a really, really good job over there. So check him out. I'll put a link to his stuff, and you can check out Steve's videos as well. Also, he says, love the podcast. I'm 2/3 of the way through your entire back catalog. Jeez. You know, I will say thank you, but like I've said in the past, I'm not responsible for the therapy. Anyhow, he says he enjoys the show, and Steve, Steve and I enjoy your YouTube videos when I get the chance and the time to sit down and actually look at them. So keep up the great work, and thanks for the email. I got a comment from Andrew on the memorial garden that we did as an Eagle project. He says, "Wow, the memorial looks just so beautiful. Peaceful memorial, haha." I listened to the podcast story about clearing the brush in the sidewalk, and I imagined my own alma mater in its place. But I got home, found an email announcing the podcast episode, and saw the actual photos. And I was just filled with happiness and joy for the work of the prospective Eagle and the project's appearance and the size the school has given to the grounds. Just lovely. And yeah, it really, really turned out great. And the good news is that young man, we finished up all his stuff, got his Eagle application signed and certified in time. And so now he's just finishing up and getting ready for his board of review. And he's already had his 18th birthday, but as long as you get all the work done, that's okay. That's not a problem. And so hopefully we'll be able to, we got him in under the wire when it comes to all the paperwork and requirements. So hopefully within a couple of weeks, I will be able to announce on the air that, yes, in fact, we've made an Eagle Scout, because with the work and effort that this young man put into it, and he did. And like I said, he also plays football. And so he was coming to me after practice with all this stuff done. And I mean, the poor guy was he was wasted. I mean, you could tell in his eyes that he just really didn't have much left, but he was doing everything he could to just burn that candle on both ends. And there was a couple of things when I was kind of giving him down the road and saying, hey, this isn't acceptable. We got to go back and do this and this and this. And he would just kind of sit there and nod and go, yes, sir. And he'd come back the next day and he'd have it done. And, I got to admire that. So, I believe that, he will be a very good candidate for Eagle. And like I said, hopefully we'll be able to make that announcement here in a couple, 3 weeks. Anyhow, Andrew, thank you very much for the comment on the blog. I also got an email from Cap7597. And, he's a YouTuber as well. I'm getting all the YouTubers this week. Anyhow, he says, hey, Rick, hope all is well. I was wondering if you could throw in one of your podcasts or a few about my No Shave November team, Old School Shavers Against Cancer, OSSAC. Shavers can join or just donate. The money is equally spread over 4 different cancer research centers: St. Jude's Children's Research, the American Cancer Society, Prevent Cancer Foundation, and Fight Colorectal Cancer. And gives the link to the team. And for more info, you can either write me back or hit me up on Instagram, and I'd appreciate it. I don't need any more info. I'll just go ahead and throw this up there, and we'll put this up in this week's show notes. And anyhow, he says, till next time, Cap. And thanks. He also says he needs some Wickams, so I got to get in touch with him and see if we can't work something out. Anyhow, good stuff. So this November, No Shave November, Old School Shavers Against Cancer, good cause. You might want to support it. All right, well, we got through the night. We got through a podcast. Life is good. Okay, so let's talk about the shave of the day, because it is a gorgeous day out here today. Blue sky, sunshine, nice temperature. It is wonderful. And it all started with a wonderful shave of the day. Okay, so started out, warmed up the Suribachi bowl, and threw in my Nathan Clark BrushnSoapnBlade Badger brush in there. And proceeded to jump in the shower and do a little prep. Jumped out, used my, lathered up my 1912 Citrus Musk. And again, wonderful, wonderful latherability. You know, previously I had been using boar brushes. On a Badger brush, it lathers up just beautifully. And proceeded to have just an exquisite lather. It was really, really nice, and because I had soaked my my brush in the Suribachi bowl, the bowl had warmed up a little bit. So not only was it nice and luxurious, it had a little bit of warmth to it, and of course that really helped with the smells emanating from both the bowl and the lather. And as soon as I put it on my face, and it was just it was all good. So with that as the preamble, I then proceeded to reach in the drawer and pull out a pack of gem carbon steel blades, and pulled one out and threw it in an old gem Damascene, and proceeded to do a single edge 4-pass shave, 3-pass and a touch up. Call it 4-pass on the neck anyhow. And wonderful, wonderful shave. Really, you know, just everything that I could ever hope for a single edge shave. Really, really enjoy it as always. And again, I just marvel at the fact that you know, there are some people who have never tried a single edged blade, and well, they need to. It is a marvelous system and razor and blades, and yeah, it's good stuff. Works well. Holy cow! So anyhow, then I was sitting there and I was looking around, and I was cleaning up and everything, and I was getting the wasps, if you will, the wisps of the citrus musk, the 1912 citrus musk. And I was thinking, okay, what aftershave would complement / go with this? And then it hit me. And so I grabbed my bottle of British Sterling. And yeah, that is a good combination. 1912 Citrus Musk from Wickham Soap Company, followed by a splash of British Sterling. Yeah, that is a good combination. And so I have walked out the door to meet the just absolutely beautiful day out here, with kind of a citrus leather or musk smell going on, and yeah, cup of coffee in the hand, driving down the road in the mobile studio, looking forward to what the day has to bring. Okay, let's talk about the shave of the day. Okay, so I have been enjoying, just absolutely thoroughly enjoying the Wickham Soap Company 1912 Russian Leather. Oh my gosh, it is, okay, out of all of the 1912 soaps, it is my favorite. It really is. It's got a, you know, this term has been overused, but it has an Old Spice type scent and aroma. I said type. It's not Old Spice. It's not the same as Wickham Spice Trade, but it is, well, similar. It is very similar. In fact, the joy that I have been having is being able to utilize the Russian leather with my Old Spice clone aftershave. Now, the Old Spice clone aftershave, the V-John aftershave, does not typically last very long, but quite honestly, between the scent of the Russian leather with a little kick from the Old Spice V-John clone, it does a very, very nice job and lasts for a good long time, and I have really, like I said, been enjoying that. Now, of course, as I've experienced with all the other 1912s, and keep in mind, I have very soft water, so that helps, but lather has been just very, very exquisite. I mean, there's really no other way to put it. You can say it's a nice leather, you can say it's a great leather. No, it's an exquisite leather. I have had less issues lathering this stuff than I have with just about any other soap. It doesn't really seem to care that terribly much for water ratios and how much moisture you have in it. It's very forgiving in that regard. And all in all, I've just, again, been very, very happy with it. So yesterday, I went ahead and shaved in the shower. And that was actually, I wanted to try something, and so I did. It was a one-pass shave. Now, when I say one-pass shave in the shower, first off, the scent of the Russian leather inside the humid shower environment was splendid. It was everywhere, and it was pretty fabulous. Now, the razor that I used was my Gem Damascene with a gem carbon steel blade in it, and the single pass shave that I did was a single pass shave against the grain. Now, it does require that you have a very good understanding of the grain of your face in order to do this. However, the moisture of the shower, the humidity of the shower, the soap itself really leads to a very nice, slick, moisturized environment with soft stubble, so that you can go against the grain with very little issue. Now, again, it requires that you understand the grain pattern on your face, and the idea is basically every square inch, you are going against the grain in a single pass type situation. It worked. It worked well. It worked amazingly well. It worked so well that I was actually contemplating throwing on, some more lather to clean things up. And when I rinsed off, felt my face and said, I don't need it. It's not necessary. So a shave in the shower, single pass against the grain. You want to talk about quick? Yeah. So that was yesterday. Now today I went ahead and used the Damascene, and today I wanted to try something. I wanted to use the Damascene with almost negative pressure. I just wanted to see, okay, no pressure at all, just like I said, almost negative pressure, just having the absolute lightest feather touch I could generate with the Damascene and the PAL carbon steel, just to, kind of prove a point. And I did. 3 passes, wonderful, wonderful shave, very close, just shy of BBS, way more than socially acceptable, and the whole idea of needing pressure in a razor, even if it is due to the weight, is a misnomer, and no, you don't really need it. You can get by with no pressure. And so again, it was one of those things where I wanted to try, wanted to experiment, and it proved out, and I enjoyed it. So again, the aftershaves that I've been using the last couple of days have been my V-John. It's an Old Spice clone that you can pick up at the Dollar General store, or we've got some of those type stores around here that I've been able to find it. And if you look on the container, It's I think I know that they have it for the Old Spice, but they typically say like Old Spice or something like that. And if you look on the container, it is a product made by a company called Vjon, VJON, and I've had this for a while. And when I first tried it, it was okay, but more typically alcohol than scent, and the scent wasn't lasting. It wasn't around for very long, and quite honestly, it's still just marginal at best. But it is a decent aftershave, especially when you consider the cost of just a couple of bucks. If all you're looking for is an alcohol-based aftershave to seal things up, if you will. Act as an antiseptic and seal things up and, feel refreshing and just have a pleasant odor while you're putting it on, and then not really get in the way much. Yeah, that's what this is. But it has worked nicely with the Russian leather and the residual smell from the Russian leather, because I am wiping off with a towel. I am not rinsing off with water. I'm wiping off with a towel, and so it does leave just a little bit of residual soap, I'm sure, and a little bit of a residual smell. And it seems to be a pretty decent combination. So anyhow, those have been the shaves of the day for the last couple of days, and have thoroughly enjoyed it. And it is the way to start the day. Well, the last couple evenings have been, filled with activity. Holy cow. Just absolutely filled with activity. First off, I have been working with one of my scouts who is, he's waited until the absolute last minute, at least last day, to finish up all the required stuff for the rank of Eagle. Now, the rank of Eagle is the highest rank within scouting, and there is, I believe the average at this point is it's only 4 to 5% of boys that ever enter scouting achieve the rank of Eagle. Now, I've known this young man ever since he came into the troop, and his brother was in the troop before him, and this young man has he does pretty good. But he was of the opinion, at least to hear him tell it, that he was not going to make it. And lo and behold, then he sat down and realized that, maybe he could, and decided to go for it. So kudos from a maturity level to look at a situation, say, yeah, I could do this. It's going to be hard, but I can make it, and then have the gumption to go forward with it and create a plan and stick to it and work his way through it and finish things up. So I have been meeting to finish up merit badges for this young man Sunday night, last night, and we finished up all of his Eagle required merit badges last night. And lo and behold, we have one more thing to do prior to his Eagle Board of Review, and we're doing that tonight, which is a good thing because his birthday is Wednesday. And this is Tuesday. So basically it's tonight, and then he's done. He's got the only requirement that he has is he has to get everything finished before his Eagle Board of Review. And he can work on his Eagle Board of Review prior to that, but or after that rather. But as I understand it, and as it has been explained to me, he has up until his 18th birthday to get his merit badges and his projects done, and to get all the things that he needs to get done finished. And so good gosh. Okay. So it has been an adventure, to say the least. It is driving this Scoutmaster crazy, trying to get this young man who is putting in a good chunk of time and effort, and that's the key, a good chunk of effort to finish up. So we're going to see what we can do to get him across that finish line. Yeah. Hopefully, God willing, we won't have any issues or problems. So, yeah, that's what has been occupying my time as of late. Now, the good news is that it has given me an opportunity to interact with a boy or a young man that is trying diligently, and his peers, his fellow scouts, see that he is trying diligently. And they also see that there are adult leaders, when you try, willing to step up and help. Now, if you're not trying, okay, they're not going to help because there's nothing to help with. However, if you are in fact trying, okay. In that case, yeah, it's a good thing. So it's a good life lesson. It is, now, in life, just because you're trying isn't a guarantee, but 9 times out of 10, if you are trying, you can usually get some help and assistance. It's when you just don't try at all that people go, never mind. So that has been fun. Been exciting, but it has also been fun. Now, the good news is that the troop is doing well. We've got a good mix of scouts at this point, of all age groups, young and old, and we have another troop that's not too far away. They're a good bit bigger than we are, but in their troop, what they do is they break up the boys into patrols based on age. We've never done that in my troop. We've always had a mix so that you have to deal with everybody. The young guys have to deal with the old guys have to deal with the young guys, and it seems to breed a little bit more, charity, I think is the best word for it, and patience with everybody all the way around. The young guys aren't going to get it all the time, and the old guys aren't going to necessarily have the patience, and I mean, it's one of those things that, it's kind of like life. It's, when we get out in public, if you will, we're not necessarily surrounded by like-minded individuals. Some have more knowledge, some have less knowledge, and so, within our troop, we try to set it up so that you have that experience as well, and I think it just makes things go a little bit smoother, and everything just seems to be, a little bit calmer and a whole lot less cliquish, because we're a small enough troop that we just see each other as, it's the troop, otherwise known as my scouting family, and it's just, that's kind of the way it is. So that's a good thing. Anyhow, that's kind of the report of what we've been doing in Scouts. We do have a jamboree on the air coming up, and that's the next activity, along with a couple of camping trips, and golly, it goes quick. It really does. It's rather amazing. It goes faster sometimes than I want it to, but there you go. Anyhow, that's what's happening on the scouting front. Okay, let's talk about the shave of the day. Alrighty, shave of the day today was with my Semogue Owners Club brush and Taylor of Old Bond Street Cederwood. And I looked over and realized that I had a relatively new blade in my Merkur Bakelite Slant. So I grabbed it and proceeded to do a 3-pass shave. Not too bad, however. The blade that I had obviously was definitely on its last leg. Needed to have been pulled out, and I just used it anyhow because it was there, and, I like doing things like that. And so, yeah. Now, I got one nick, and the one nick that I got was because I had lathered a small area of my face and then proceeded to shave, well, into a non-lathered area. And the Bakelite stuck, if you will, on my skin, pulled it up into the way of the razor, and snip. Yep, that's how you cut yourself. Not good. So, again, lesson to be learned there, especially for folks that aren't used to wet shaving. Lather is your friend. Lather is definitely your friend. And anyhow, then just followed up with some aftershave. I can't remember what kind it was. And, well, there you go. Out the door. Beautiful fall day. Leaves are starting to fall, as a matter of fact. 67 degrees, kind of nice. Little overcast sky, because, of course, we've got the Hurricane Matthew out there off the coast, and hopefully everybody that is in the path of that monster are safe. I know that much of the coastline has attempted to evacuate if they could. Hopefully those that evacuated are finding safety and out of harm's way, and those that were unfortunate enough not to be able to evacuate will be in God's hands and safe. That's the main thing. You know, it's interesting. You know, you hear, especially up here in the upstate, you hear about the people talking about the issues down on the coast and storm surges and all this. Well, I've been to Charleston on multiple occasions. There's a reason that they built their houses on 8 to 10 foot stilts, essentially. You know, the house is up in the air, you know, like I said, 8 to 10 feet, and everything that is, well, potentially disposable, as it were, was down underneath that or in the basements or whatever. You know, they didn't have the good stuff downstairs. That's just the way it was. And there's a reason for that. The coastal area has been prone to flooding and issues for a long time. And over time, people figure that out. And so, anyhow, hopefully everybody will be safe, and we'll get through this, and nature will subside. Because in the end, sometimes, no matter how hard you try, you're not going to win a fight with nature. So, I got a recent acquisition that was, well, not a razor, not a knife. It was a pole saw. Yeah, it was a motor-driven pole saw. It was an extension for my little Troy-built, well, I say little, it's actually pretty big, my Troy-built weed whacker. So you clip a couple, an extension on it, and then you clip the other part on. It has a small 8-inch chainsaw on it, and allows you to then limb trees and take care of things. And I had purchased this. Now, we had a neighbor that had a bunch of tree work done. Cut down a bunch of trees, opened up his backyard a good bit, limbed a bunch of other things. I mean, they went to town. There's a crew of about 5 guys that spent about 3 days. And I mean, they meant business. And so I got to looking at this, and I thought, I've got a couple of trees here that could really use some limbing, some work. Yeah, they had some limbs that were crossed over each other and up, and, they started out going up, and then they went straight down. I mean, just all kinds of strange stuff. And I decided, well, okay, how much is one of these little pole saws? And, I've got the manual version, but trying to cut through manually an 8-inch branch, I'm sorry, it's going to take way longer than I've got. And so, I was talking to the guy, and I said, well, how much would you charge to do this, and, come over here and do this and that, and I pointed out the stuff that I needed done and all that, and he said, about $200. I said, okay. I said, thanks a lot. I'll think about it, and if you're here tomorrow, I'll let you know. Well, I never saw him, and I wasn't really looking for him because I decided against it. And because I got on the internet that night and realized that I could buy a pole saw attachment for my my Troy-built 4-stroke trimmer motor and do the same job for about half the price. So I ordered one, and it came in the other day. And so, well, I put it to work. And I trimmed about 4 trees and just, cleaned them up and took down some limbs that were overshadowing things. And it just really opens up the area. The trees will be a lot healthier in the long run. Gets a lot more air and light and everything else into the understory. So I'm good with that. And just looks better, which is always a benefit. Now, the chainsaw itself, the couple of things that I noted. First off, the pole saw, the saw head itself has a little reservoir for bar oil or chain oil, and so your chain stays lubricated just like any chainsaw would do. So that was a good idea. It's not too overly heavy, which is a good thing because. Holding something heavy extended on a pole, typically while you're reaching, is a bit much. And I can tell you from having done it that yes, the shoulders notice. Now, the other thing is that I have seen pole saws that have the motor up on the bar, up on the blade part of it, and then a long pole attached. I could not imagine how heavy that thing would have to be. I would have been able to do like 2, and then it's like, okay, I'm done. So it's nice having the weight of the motor unit down at the bottom where it kind of counterbalances things a little bit. That was nice. Now, I did find the bar. It's an 8-inch bar. Now, I'll put a link to this thing in the show notes, but I found the bar. It's an 8-inch bar was pretty decent, length. There was only one time when I had to cut from both sides to be able to get something, and it was on a fairly big branch. So, so all in all, for just general limbing of things, it did a good job. Now, the other thing is that once the limbs were down, what I did is I took the center extension out so that I had the weed whacker motor and then the bar, the chainsaw, the pole saw, if you will, bar basically pretty close to each other, as close as I can get them. I used that to trim the chunks of branch up into sizable portions. And in fact, that actually worked fairly well because you could do that without stooping, which was nice. Now, if I had left the bar, the pole saw completely assembled, it would have been, just a bit too long, a bit unwieldy. But as it was, with taking that center section of about 3 feet out, it was a nice, it worked. It didn't do too bad, and it was... I'm not going to say it was pleasant, but it wasn't arduous. The other thing is that when, and speaking of arduous, when you're trimming, be aware of where you're standing and where the wind is blowing and where the chips are going to be flying, and wear safety glasses because face full of chips, all over the place, just covered in the silly things in some instances. And I didn't have much of a choice because it was the only way that I could get to the offending branch when you consider the landscape and the wind and other trees and everything else. It was just, there was only so many angles that I could get at this stuff. And all in all, I'm happy with the purchase. I really am. Now, it's got like I said, it's got a little 8-inch bar. I'm going to look just to see if I can find some, an extra chain. Probably be able to find it on Amazon. Get an extra chain, and then I should be in pretty good shape. But all in all, very, very happy with my purchase. It performed very, very well. Now, granted, like I said, I do have a fairly healthy four-stroke Troy-built power head, and so the extra power definitely helps. The other thing is that now that I think about it, for reaching up to tall branches, you end up almost resting the power head on your chest while you're trying to reach things. And of course, you're not only are you covered with chips, but you smell of gasoline and exhaust. Oh well, it happens. It's not that big a deal, and all in all, it works great. So yeah. It's every now and then. Granted, I didn't use any lather, and there were a few nicks every here and there, but I think they'll survive. No aftershave, but the trees gotta shave. All right, let's talk about the shave of the day. Boy, it has been a busy week. Good gosh. I jumped in the truck today and realized I haven't done a segment in a while and, talked about the shave of the day or anything like that. And then realized that, well, the reason is, I've been busy. Holy cow. This is one of those things where life has just kind of snuck up on me and smacked me about the head and shoulders. And, a lot of stuff going on. But anyhow, let's talk about a few things. Okay, so today's shave of the day was with my Schick adjustable. I haven't used my Schick adjustable for a while. In fact, I was standing there the other day and I was looking at the rack that I have next to my sink, right there, just at my right hand shoulder level, that holds, I don't know, maybe about 10, 12 razors or so, brushes and such like that, holds them on the wall, and nice little rack. And I got to looking and realized that there are some razors there that have blades in them that I need to take out. So I was taking blades out of older blades out of razors, and then I looked and said, well, what am I going to use today? And reached up and decided that, I hadn't used my my Schick adjustable in a while. And, all my adjustables, you can't really take the razors out of them without putting new ones in, and I don't want to do that until it's time to shave. And so I decided, I'm going to swap this one out, and I will go ahead and shave with my Schick adjustable. So I went ahead and loaded up a new blade, took the adjustable knob there and turned it up to a 5, which is about a halfway. It's really interesting on the Schick adjustable that they went with the same scale 1 through 7 as they have on a Fat Boy, which is or a slim adjustable, which is kind of cool. It's kind of a a nod to past times, if you will, which is just kind of neat. Anyhow, went ahead and like I said, threw a new blade in it, lathered up some 1912 Wickham soap, the citrus musk, and lathered that up with my new bore brush, which is just about broken into the same level of comfort as my old bore brush. So I am very, very happy with that. Took 3 weeks, maybe a month, call it. If you actually look at usage, I'd call it maybe 3 weeks, because I haven't used it every single day, but there have been many days that I have. A couple of days that I just soaked it and let it dry. But it takes about a month, and so this one has worn in very, very nicely and is very, very comfortable at this point. Loads well, it's got enough backbone that it loads very well and still provides excellent comfort when it comes to applying lather. So that went well. The Wickham soap has lathers exceedingly easily. I mean, it really does. I'm kind of amazed at that. Granted there are other soaps, but this one it just seems to just jump out almost. I have not had any issues at all. It's really kind of fantastic. But anyhow, the citrus musk has a very nice smell to it. A little bit more musky than citrusy, but a nice balance. And when I finished up it with a 3-pass shave and some touch-up and got a very, very nice, smooth, comfortable shave, I went ahead and grabbed the aftershave that, in my opinion, goes absolutely best with citrus musk, which is British Sterling. And, yeah, threw some British Sterling on, and very, very nice shave, nice aftershave, great combination. And walked downstairs, get a cup of coffee, and, yeah, feeling pretty good. So not too bad. But for me, anyhow, the combination and the thing that goes most appropriately, I guess, with citrus musk is British Sterling. So if you're a fan of British Sterling, well, there you go. Citrus musk might be an option for you. Now, on the other hand, the Russian leather for me is a very old, spicy type scents, and so that's a good combination there as well. So, yeah, good shave today. Beautiful day, light blue sky, just kind of, some very light clouds up there and wispy type things. Not much at all, so hopefully everything is starting to dry out from a certain hurricane that came busting through up the East Coast. And, as always, pray for the folks down on the coastline, Charleston, Savannah, North Carolina. They got flooding and stuff like that. But like I said before, there's a reason that the houses were built on stilts and pedestals and everything else, because it's been happening for a long, long time. So hopefully everybody's safe, and granted it was a kind of a pain getting out of there, and probably a pain getting back in, but well, sometimes that's what you got to do. Anyhow, that was the shave of the day today, and hopefully your day will go just as well as mine started out. So the shave of the day today, there were a couple of bumps on the road to the shave of the day today. Used Wickham Soap Company's 1912 Club Cola. Now, to be quite honest, I was a little apprehensive of this stuff because it smells like Coca-Cola. I mean, when I first opened it up, I instinctively reached for the rum. It really smells like cola. It was amazing. It really was. And I'm like, okay, if I smear this all over my face in a lather, will it be sticky? Yeah, so I was, in fact, very apprehensive about it, but I went, okay, I got to do it, just out of sheer curiosity. I would not have, just me personally, I would not have bought this looking at the description or knowing that it smelled like cola. I just wouldn't have done it. So lathered it up with my 830 brush, and lathers beautifully, just like the rest of the 1912s, and didn't have any problem there. Filled the whole room with the smell of cola. It was really pretty cool. Threw it on my face and found it, well, just a tad invigorating. It was almost like in my head, and I know this is just, there's none in here, but it was like in my head, I could feel the carbon dioxide bubbles bubbling up. It was like I had this smell memory, when you fill a glass with cola, Coca-Cola or whatever, and you got ice in there and you got cola in there, and you lift it up to take a drink, and the bubbles, and carbon dioxide bubbles just kind of spray the cola into your nose almost. It was that kind of a feel. It was that kind of a scent memory. It was like, whoa, what is this? What is going on? We've talked about scent memories a lot, but this is like taking scent memories to a whole new level. It was really, really fantastic. It was just, looking back on it, it was like, wow, that was just cool. So I really enjoyed it. It was, like I said, it was invigorating. It was just mind-boggling in the effects that it was having. The memories and the feelings and everything. So all in all, good stuff. Use my my Schick adjustable. Blah. I used my Schick adjustable razor, and Schick injector adjustable, and it did pretty good. Although I got a little carried away with it, put too much pressure on it, and have two weepers, or had two little weepers under my nose. Doggone it. But it was me. It was not the razor. It was, yeah, I wasn't really paying attention because I was thinking more of the effervescence of cola. It was, when you first do it, it was, I'm not going to say it was distracting in a bad way, but it was definitely distracting in a good way. It was just like, it was really cool. Anyhow, I finished that up with some fine American blend aftershave, and I thought that just seemed to be a good combination to go with cola. I don't know if it works or not, but we'll see. So walk out the door and a beautiful day, absolutely beautiful day, and so far, we're loving it. Well, this is definitely that time of year when you make your morning commutes or your afternoon return homes or whatever, that sunglasses and sun visors are an absolute necessity, at least here. It's one of those things where you crest over a hill and the sun is absolutely dead in your face. Just oh my gosh. It's, all of a sudden you're squinting instantaneously, reaching for the sunglasses, flipping down the sun visor, stepping on the brakes, trying like heck hoping like heck that you're not going to run into somebody who's doing the same thing right in front of you. Sunglasses are a great, great invention. However, they do have their downsides. Okay, so the sunglasses that I have are polarized. There are certain things in my vehicle that are difficult to see because of my polarized sunglasses. There are certain things on a cell phone that are difficult to see because of polarization. It's like, oh gosh, really? You get something that works really good for some things, but not for others. And it just goes back to, having the right tool for the job. And, so I've got to search and hunt around for some sunglasses that maybe are not polarized, but still do an effective job of blocking sunlight. Yeah. Don't know what I'll find, but I don't know. I may go to Zini and see. I don't think I'll need prescription ones, but I can at least get some sunglasses there, and they have different tints and shades and made out of different lenses and everything else, and so maybe I can put something together there for a reasonable price. I've got a really good pair of sunglasses. They're really, really nice, but they're polarized. They're very effective, but they're polarized. They've got beautiful glass lenses, and I love them a lot, but they're polarized, and I'm just searching for another option. So if you know one, give me a call or send me an email. Anyhow, it's that time of year again, and it is amazing because just about the time that we get through this thing, okay, and the normal commute kind of misses all of a sudden that sun angle issue, that, of course, is exactly the time that they change it due to daylight savings time, and you're back into that sun angle again for, probably another 2 weeks or so. But of course, we're doing it to save energy, but I have to wonder how much money do we happen to spend with car accidents and potential fatalities and destruction of property and everything else in order to fool the clock. Jeez. At some point, we should just sit back and admit, okay, there are certain things in nature, like the rising of the sun, that maybe we don't want to mess with. We can fool ourselves all day long to say, yes, the sun rises and it's 6 o'clock instead of 7 o'clock, or it's 8 o'clock instead of 7 o'clock, or whatever it is that we want to do with the time. But in the end, we're just kind of fooling ourselves because the sun's going to do what the sun's going to do, and we really don't control it. Even though we like to think that we are masters of our own destiny sometimes, there are some things within nature that, That's out of our sphere of influence. So we end up resorting to things like sunglasses and sun visors and stepping on brakes. Well, you get the picture. So last episode, episode 149, we talked about custom shirts and some options when it comes to, well, purchasing custom shirts and why somebody would maybe want to do that. Now, okay, so let's say that you have a custom shirt or just a nice shirt that you enjoy wearing. And, you've had it for a while and it's looked okay, but yeah, it just never looked quite right. What are the keys to making your shirt look good? Okay, so I found an article over on Real Men, Real Style. And it was great, and it fit right in. The perfect shirt collar look. 5 tips to get $1 million collar image. Wear dress shirts without a tie, and collars look great. Okay, so here's an article which also has an embedded video which talks about all this stuff. And they talk about, well, are you suffering from limp collar syndrome? So anyhow, yeah, the limp collar syndrome and everything that's associated with it, yeah, it's something that's can be solved. And no, you don't need to go to a doctor. Anyhow, they've got a nice, within the article, they've got a nice kind of picture display of what they mean by a collar that is falling down on itself. And essentially what they mean is the placket in the front is folding instead of staying straight. So to talk about that a little bit, a really great diagram on the different kinds of collar styles and what they are, whether they be classic, button-down, tab, all that good stuff. Collar stays. Some people have them, some people don't, some people like them. I know I do. I enjoy collar stays. They seem to serve a very, very nice function, and yeah, I like mine. So that's in there as well. Also, a quick guide to starch, to spray starch for your shirts, and yes, it can be used, and yes, it is quite effective. Although it does have some drawbacks, so it talks about those. And there are drawbacks that, well, I really didn't understand at first, but it does make sense. And also, finally, the positioning of buttons. Sometimes when you have a shirt and you unbutton, you've got the button that's around the neck, right at the neck, and then you unbutton one button, and it looks okay, it looks somewhat, kind of semi-casual, or it looks like it's just really casual and wide open. And, I know I have shirts that are like that, and it's all due to where those buttons are placed on the shirt. So, and then finally, there's a neat little thing called the $1 million collar. And apparently some entrepreneur decided that they were going to fix a placket that is falling down, and created this nifty little device to be installed in your shirts to help keep your plackets straight and in good shape. Great little invention. So anyhow, I'll link to this one in the show notes, and hopefully you'll enjoy it as much as I did. So then another one that I found on Real Men Real Style was 5 stylish ways to roll shirt sleeves. Although one of them, well, it's not really rolling, but it's a way to get your sleeves up anyhow. So anyhow, it's a great little article, and again with an embedded video. So I'm really liking this site, but it gives several different ways to roll up your sleeves with diagrams and how to do it. And they've got the master sleeve roll, the AIFA roll, or the AIFA roll. And don't know what that stands for. It doesn't really explain that, at least not that I have been able to find. So that was kind of interesting. The basic sleeve roll, the high roller, and then finally the one that really isn't rolling, which is the garter roll. And yeah. So there's also some bonus tips and everything else. But again, it's got the infographs there that show you and display all of the different styles, which is nice. And they've got the embedded video, which is really, really sweet. So real men style, or real men real style, yeah, good job. I like it so far, and I'll link those in the show notes, and hopefully you guys will enjoy them just as much. Well, that concludes this episode of the Brush and Soap and Blade Podcast. I hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as I enjoyed making it. If you have some suggestions or would like a topic covered, drop me an email at BrushnSoapnBlade@gmail.com or give me a call at 864-372-6234 or contact us on Twitter at BrushnBlade. You can also visit us at our blog, BrushnSoapnBlade.wordpress.com. As always, we're available on iTunes and Stitcher.